You know what's funny? We live in a world obsessed with progress. Everywhere you look, someone is upgrading, achieving, moving, doing. And if you're not doing any of this, you feel like you're falling behind. But here's my question. What if a lot of what we call progress isn't progress? Because sometimes or oftentimes we tend to mistake activity for advancement and we're always trying to meet up with the next milestone, but deep down we don't even know why. Have you ever come across someone or have you ever come across this saying where people say, I'm very busy but I don't feel alive? I'm sure a number of you can relate to that, and that's because we wake up, we rush through our day, we are trying to check off our to-do list, post an update and call it progress. But progress isn't about how much you do but how much you become. It's possible for you to be running full speed in the wrong direction, and that is why sometimes we tend to celebrate people's hustle even though they are very disconnected from their purpose, because we're just all trying to work hard, be consistent, put in the effort without even realizing if we're investing all of that in the right direction or the wrong direction. Because just say, for example, as I say, we can celebrate someone's hustle and also for that person to be very disconnected from their purpose, is because hustle can be a means of you being able to get money to meet up with your needs, or just make money, whereas you're not working in your purpose. So it's possible for you to be on full speed, being ready to put in the work, the energy, and still invest it in the wrong direction. So it's possible for you to be investing a lot and be wondering why you're not progressing without understanding that you're putting all your effort and energy in the wrong direction. But here's the illusion now. The world which we live in tends to reward motion other than meaning. So everywhere you look, someone is doing something and automatically we classify them that they are progressing, they are improving, they are doing something. And it is important to understand that growth is quiet. It's not always Instagrammable. And progress can look like you sitting still and facing what hurts. Progress can look like you saying no to the wrong opportunities. Progress can sometimes look like you sitting and resting, and that doesn't mean you're lazy, but you're trying to realign, you're trying to re-strategize, you're trying to plan. And sometimes you're not stuck, you're just becoming, and that might not look productive to the world, but it's very powerful. But here's another illusion. Another illusion is when we mistake change for growth. For example, you got that new job, good, but have you changed your mindset? You left that relationship, very good, but have you been able to heal that part of you that keeps attracting that same kind of love? You're trying to set a new goal, good, but are you doing it for you or are you doing it in seeking validation? So real growth isn't always loud. It's when your silence speaks so much volume and your reactions have softened, and also you being able to be at peace even though nothing is changing externally. Because we've gotten to a point where we glamorize hustle over alignment and we glorify motion over meaning. So maybe it's time to redefine what progress is or real progress is, and that is not about how far you go but how deep you understand why you're going. So I want you to ask yourself this question: am I busy or am I becoming? Am I chasing goals or am I becoming someone new? Because there's a huge difference with having a filled calendar or packed calendar and having a fulfilled life. So if you ever feel like you're behind, maybe you're not, maybe you're exactly where you're meant to be, building something that the world can't see just yet, and the keyword is just yet. Because guys, the illusion of progress is something that affects our society heavily, in the sense where people are actually willing to put in the work, be consistent and all of that, but at the end of the day you come to discover that they are pouring all this energy in the wrong direction or working not in their purpose. And you not working in your purpose can also be one way to dampen your progress, because as much progress as you make, if you're not working in your purpose, it means you still not started the journey. So you can't really say you're progressing, if I'm making any sense. So that was how I was like, you know what, today I want us to touch on the illusion of progress, because most people just often hear, okay, you need to be a hard worker, you need to be consistent, you need to be diligent, but without making people understand that it still needs to be done in the right way, because you can do all of that and still not be able to produce or see any results because you're not working in purpose and you're investing your energy in the wrong place. So instead of trying to chase, okay, because everyone is doing something, and sometimes activity or being busy often gives us that illusion of, okay, we are progressing, we are doing something. But if you sit down and ask yourself, what are you really doing? But from the time you wake up in the morning till the time you go to the bed, are you just checking off your to-do list? Okay, today I'm supposed to do this, tomorrow I'm supposed to do this and this and this, without really sitting down to understand, okay, these things I'm doing, am I just doing them to exist, or am I doing them to serve a purpose that is greater than me and is also in alignment with my purpose? So yeah, it's very important to also want to grow to the aspect that just because you're moving, just because you're doing something, doesn't equate it to you actually progressing. And sometimes when we are growing or when we are progressing, it's often quiet. Sometimes it feels like nothing is happening. That is why you hear statements like, it takes years and it feels like nothing is happening, and all at once everything happens. Because at the end of the day, progress isn't visible, progress isn't measurable, and sometimes progress looks like you deciding to grow authentically, intentionally, and on your own quietly. So the main goal or the most important thing is to actually grow, not to look like you're growing, not to look like you're progressing, but to actually evolve and progress. And yeah, guys, that was what inspired me to, touch on today's topic. That was why I was like, let's touch on the illusion of progress, because this is something that I feel a lot of youths tend to battle with. But anyways, guys, let's move into our quote for this week. What's our quote for this week? The title of our quote for this week would be, it's going to take years. And it goes, you already know it's going to take years. You already know it's going to be hard, boring, uncomfortable, and slow. That's not the problem. The problem is that deep down, part of you is still hoping that there's shortcuts, but there isn't. There's just work, the repetition, the silence, the parts where no one claps and nothing happens for a while. And the truth is, most people can handle that part. So they quit or they stop and they start over again and again just to avoid sitting in it. The time is going to pass either way. So what were you planning to do instead? Tweak the plan for the 15th time? Keep talking about your potential without actually doing anything with it? This is the trade. You either suffer now through the process or you suffer later with great regrets. That's it. Those are your options. One hurts, the other haunts. So no, it won't be fast, and no, it won't be easy. But it will be worth it if you're willing to pay for it in advance. And besides, do you have any other plans? But what caught my attention with this quote of the week is, this is the trade. You either suffer now through the process or you suffer later with regret. And that's what I meant earlier on, that with time eventually it gets so obvious to the point where we can be able to differentiate people who went through the process and people who did not go through the process. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Please don't forget to like this video if you haven't. Give it a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I share a post. I normally upload every Fridays on Feeling It. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you guys next week.